Welcome to Tales from Flat Space. I'm LJ Spencer, your author and narrator. Just know that the novels in this podcast may contain content that could be disturbing to some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. So, this is Part 5, Misfits, Chapter 45, Nan. I smiled as I watched Tony's feat of Tanish rescuing her father and grandmother, and then her dealing with Tanish's mother. While I'd never fully understood how the AIs thought, I did appreciate their ruthlessness when it came to protecting the people they cared about. Good work, I texted to Tony. Thank you, she said through my combots. Ma'am, there's movement at the hotel, said Frank, who was watching the pickets set on Tanish and Derek. How many? One in the room, one waiting inside. I rolled my eyes. So predictable. Frank turned to me. Do we warn them? I shook my head. They need to react naturally. Yes, ma'am. I left Frank to keep watching the kids and went to the small break room in the back of the command center. Carol was curled up like a cat on the small couch, fast asleep. I touched her shoulder. Wakey, wakey, Marine. Time to get to work. She woke up all at once and sat up. What's going on? We have movement at the hotel. Tanish and Derek are on their way back from the restaurant. Carol looked confused. What took them so long? I grinned. Tanish decided to rescue her father and grandmother from her abusive mother during dinner. Huh? Then she got that faraway look that she got when talking to Tony. Oh, good for her. Yes, pretty impressive. Have Tony send you that suit, by the way. I thought you said I didn't need it down here. Not while they're following Tanish and Derek, no. Now that we know they're about to be picked up, I need you ready to kick ass. The other woman's grin was near feral, and suddenly her suit popped into the break room. I grinned back and let her have the room. Status? I asked Frank. Contact, ma'am. Tracking. They're heading towards Winterthur. I frowned. What's in Winterthur? Not much. Mostly old, semi-abandoned industrial buildings in Winterthur proper. The rest of the city got eaten up by Zurich's expansion a few hundred years ago. Do we know who owns the buildings? Not entirely. Couple of them are ours, but the rest are owned by artist collectives, small startups, or shell companies. The poets aren't going to like us just storming into one of these buildings in the middle of the night, I said. Maybe Tony can do something? Carol suggested, coming out of the break room with her suit on. I thought for a moment, then smiled. Tony? I asked, waking up her audible comm channel. Yes, Nan. How big of an object can you pick it? Well, something about twice my size with what material I have on board. A building should be no problem at all. Aye, eyes, I thought with a grin. Excellent. Once we know which building they're in, I want you to picket the whole thing to the desert, well west of Dongola, away from other inhabited areas. The African Union isn't going to like that, said Frank. I shrugged. Survey will compensate both the AU and Switzerland handsomely, which I'm sure will smooth any ruffled feathers. Carol was staring at me. You're going to picket an entire building? Into the desert, yes, I replied. What's a desert? I looked askance at her until I remembered that she had lived all her life until now without ever setting foot on a planet. It's an area of the planet that is typically hot and dry, nearly waterless, with little vegetation or human habitation. The land is basically all sand. The area we're going to is called the Sahara, and it's the largest desert on Earth. There are some cold deserts, but I'm sure Tony can fill you in on those details later if you're curious. Why there? Much easier to shoot these wankers when their water and power's cut off and we aren't in a major metropolitan area. The Winterthur Polizei will appreciate it, I'm sure. Before Carol could respond, Frank said, we got the fuckers. Old Seltzer building. Great, Tony? Launching pickets. Building secured and transferred. Communications jammed. I clapped my hands together. Well, Carol, ready for some ass kicking? Oh, fuck yeah. I smiled. Frank, have the head meet us there with the usual folks. Tony, if you please. Yes, Nan, she said, and suddenly we were standing on the sands of the Sahara. Carol looked around with her mouth open in awe. Then she looked up. Fucking hell, she whispered, as she got her first view of the stars from Earth. Sorry to have to pull you away from this so quickly, I said. We can stay for a while afterwards if you like, but we really need to get to the ass-kicking before they figure out alternative ways to communicate with their backers. Oh, yeah, right, Carol said, shaking her head and turning to the front doors of what was now the only building for kilometers around. Let's go. You're not going in without me, said a voice behind us. I pulled my gun out and turned around to see an avatar of Tony. I put down my gun. You made another one already? Exclaimed the Marine, looking the avatar up and down. Tony nodded. A better one. I surely hope so, I said with a smirk. Now, stop fucking around and let's get this over with. I turned and led them into the building. Gabriella. Gabriella! Yelled Dr. Cox from the dissection room. I sighed and carefully put down the pipette I was using to put samples in the mass spec. Yes, master, I thought sarcastically in my head. Jonathan, who was across the bench from me, smirked. Dance, monkey, dance, he muttered. Fuck you, I said, and went over to see what His Highness wanted. Sir, I said. More hair, skin, and fluid samples for you, he said, pointing to a box on the bench. Also, get me some coffee and a sandwich, he replied, using tools on the avatar and pulling out pieces. I grabbed the box, not even acknowledging the food request. Gabriella, he said from behind me. Get the order right this time, would you? You know I don't like tomatoes. Yes, sir, I said through gritted teeth. I put the samples on my tiny excuse of a bench, thinking all the ways I'd like to destroy that asshole. I sighed. No, I need this fucking job so I can get off planet, I reminded myself. Be grateful for the Mutech money truck while you can. I walked into the secretary's office. She looked up, saw me, and started dialing. You are a goddess among women, Claire, I said. Claire winked at me. Don't worry, I won't forget the tomatoes, she said. We grinned at each other conspiratorially, and I moved to the break room to heat up the espresso machine. I looked out the window overlooking the darkened parking lot to see a black van backing up to the service entrance. What are they bringing this time? I wondered. Shrugging to myself, I went back to the machine, which had signaled it was ready to make coffee. I picked up a clean cup and went through the motions of making the cappuccino, with extra foam and cocoa powder. I was tempted to spit in it again, since I was alone, but I was too tired to waste my bodily fluids on the bastard. As I turned my head back to the dissection room, all the lights went out, and the building shook. What the fuck? I said out loud, as the coffee in my hand spilled all over the floor. Oh, fucking hell! I shrieked. I heard yelling from the labs, with Cox's voice demanding that security come and protect him. I ignored it and went to the sink to wash off the coffee. Some water came out, but then it sputtered and died. Shit, I said and went looking for a towel to wipe off my lab coat and shoes. Thank God I wear boots, I muttered to myself. You, take care of these people, I heard from the doorway, and one of the security guards shoved two barely conscious people into the break room, both of whom fell to the floor. "What?" I yelled, but the man had already left and closed the door. One person was masculine-looking, young and fair-skinned. The other was feminine-looking with dark skin and curly hair. They were both wearing fancy clothes as if they'd been out to dinner or something. "What the fuck am I supposed to do with you two?" I said with a sigh. The two didn't move. I paced the room trying to think. When I got to the windows, I noticed that the light outside was different than before. The usual pipes and vats that were next to the building were gone. I moved closer to the windows and gaped. Instead of the Swiss industrial park, there was nothing but sand under a full moon. "How?" I muttered. "Dude," said a slurred voice behind me, giggling. "You guys pissed off the wrong people." The masculine-looking person had managed to sit up and scoot themselves over to the wall. The other person was still out. "What do you mean?" "You guys took an AI's avatar, Nemetona's avatar. Now she's pissed and sending in survey people to come get you." "Survey?" I said, surprised. "Yeah, some survey spooks. You guys are fucked," they said, giggling more. The blood drained from my face. Then I swore a blue streak for at least 2 minutes. The person kept giggling. "Oh, shut up," I snapped at him. "God damn it. I knew it was survey tech. I knew I should have left this job as soon as they brought that thing in." I sat down hard on one of the plastic chairs. "Oh, shit. What if, what if that avatar is a jump drive? The asshole didn't seem to pull anything out that might be one yet, but..." I racked my mind trying to think if anyone had been working on anything that looked even close to a jump drive. Out loud, I said, "That fucking asshole! I'm done with this bullshit." I went over to the person that was sitting up. "Listen, I'm gonna untie you, then move you away from the door. Hopefully these fuckers won't shoot through the door, but you never know." "Yeah, sure. I'm Derek, by the way. That's my friend Tanish. We just bought her dad a house. Tony's got lots of money, you know." He giggled again, then hiccuped, looking faintly surprised. "That's nice, Derek," I said as I grabbed the scissors from the utility drawer and cut the zip ties around both their wrists. "You're really pretty, you know," he said, wide-eyed, as if he just realized that girls could be pretty. "Too bad for him," I thought, shaking my head. "Thanks, Derek," I said. "Can you move yourself over to the wall?" "Yeah, I think so." "Good. I'll sort out your friend here." I rolled Tanisha over, squatted, and pulled her up by her arms, following Derek as they crawled slowly to the other side of the room. "Fuck, I need to work out more," I said. Derek didn't make it all the way to the wall. "Tired now," they said, and flopped down on their belly. I sighed and deposited Tanisha next to them. I went back to the kitchenette and held the scissors in my hands. "Okay, Gabby," I thought. "If Moogoons come through, they get the scissors. If survey people come through, you surrender. Right." The door opened and Dr. Cox ran in, shut the door, and locked it. He turned. "Gabriella." I raised an eyebrow and crossed my arms. "Don't you dare ask me for anything right now." "You have to protect me." Derek giggled from their side of the room. "He's funny." I had had enough. "Protect you? Protect you?" I screamed at him, loudly. "That survey out there, you stupid cunt! We'll all be fucking dead if you don't call off the goons." "Are you insane? Mr. Mew won't give up this work that easily." Cox seemed to remember he was my superior. He stepped forward and invaded my personal space. "You will protect me if you want to keep this job." "Mew is an idiot, and you're an asshole," I said, pulled back my arm, and punched him as hard as I could in the face. He fell to the floor with a satisfying thud. "I quit, fucker," I yelled, then realized my fist hurt like hell. Ow! Impressive, said a voice near the door. That made my life easier. Thanks. Huh? I said, looking up to see the most amazing looking femme looking person I'd ever seen. They had a mischievous grin on their face and were dressed in a strange looking black matte suit. Carol! Cried Derek. You came! Of course I did. You okay, kid? I'm fine, they said, still giggling, waving a hand in front of their face. They drugged him, huh? Carol asked. I nodded, still not really able to speak. Someone who looked like an old grandmother came through the door. Report. Oh, hi, Nan. I follow this guy here. I'm pretty sure he's the head of the operation. Is that right? I cleared my throat. um, Gabriella Morales. Yes, he's the head of the lab. It's run by Tech, though. Nan narrowed their eyes. Ah, I see. Impressive punch, my dear. We'll take him from here. Wait, I said quickly. Take me, please. I'll tell you everything I know about this lab if you take me back to survey. Nan raised their eyebrows, but Carol looked thoughtful. Back? Asked Nan. I went to university on Lightbringer, I replied. We'll take her, said Carol, and my heart skipped a beat. Tony's still going over to the lab in the remains of the old Avatar, but she says we can bring her back. Nan grinned. Another stray, huh? What? I said. Never mind, said Carol. Should I take them up now? She asked Nan. Nan nodded, with a serious look on her face. Tony and I will settle things here. We'll meet you up there. Take the kids. Carol nodded. Something tapped my shoulder, and suddenly the break room disappeared. Chapter 46. Nan. As soon as Carol disappeared with the others, an unearthly scream came from the labs. I calmly turned and made my way to the door, where agents were about 3 deep. Make a hole, I said loudly, and the agents quickly moved aside to let me through. My lieutenant had the grace to blush when I turned to him and raised an eyebrow. Peter? He took a breath. Ma'am, Nemetona just saw her old avatar on the table and, well, you heard. He looked nervously through the door. She's systematically destroying the lab. There are still some lab technicians in there, but... I nodded and patted his arm. I understand. Go secure the rest of the building and leave a couple of people here to take care of the techs when I get them out. I've got this. The agents all relaxed as I smiled. Peter saluted crisply and left to do my bidding, his face still bright red. I put the others out of my mind as I walked through the door. Loud crunching and fizzing sounds filled the room as a gray blur turned machinery and tools into nothing but dust. Nemetona was carefully avoiding where her avatar lay, and scientists were huddled opposite the dissection table. It was a gruesome sight to see her avatar splayed out like that, and my own anger rose. I calmly put on my black gloves as I stepped further into the room. The scientists were too terrified to really notice me as they kept their eyes on the gray blur. I'd seen rage in humans, but I'd never seen rage from an AI. I'd dealt with neurodivergent AIs during my service, but this was on another level altogether. It made me wonder what changes the ancestors had made to her emotional programming. I made a mental note to suggest she contact Hestia later. The destruction suddenly stopped, leaving only a ringing silence. Tony was standing in front of the scientists. Why did you do this to me? I just wanted to dance like a human and experience Earth, but instead you cut me up like I was nothing. You treated me as an object, not a person. Why? She yelled the last question at decibels that should have made their ears bleed. I was grateful for my butt. None of the scientists answered her. Nemetona, I said, calmly into the silence. What? She asked, turning around. I know you're a person, but most people on Earth don't believe AIs even exist. To them, you're a technology they've been denied. They violated me! Why do humans always hurt us? I looked at the scientist, who smelled a bit like urine and other unpleasant things. Nemetona, let me get these people out of here and I'll explain some things to you. I want them punished, she demanded. They will be given the choice, Nemetona. She stared at me for a second. If any of them go to survey, I don't want them anywhere near my siblings. Understood. They will be sent planetside to Olympia or they will die. They won't be placed on a ship. The scientists realized what was going to happen and started to yell, but Nemetona stared them down. They went immediately quiet, looking at me pleadingly. I shook my head and tapped an earpiece, disgusted with a lot of them. Can you picket them to our headquarters, Nemetona? The Earth librarians will take it from there. Nemetona nodded. She watched as I ordered my agents to come into the room and surround the scientist. Put them in the large conference room, Nemetona. Peter, tell the head that I'll be there shortly to take care of them. Peter nodded. Then all the other humans disappeared. Once they were gone, I said, I can tell you this because I am the operational head of Earth librarians. This is classified and compartmentalized, but I think given what you've been through, you should know why they did this to you. I sighed. Nemetona, you're a young AI compared to the others. Kia, Josh, and Billy deliberately kept Earth ignorant of AI abilities and status in order to protect you all from exactly this type of thing. Earth particularly resents our keeping a lot of tech from them, and there are many people who only want the tech for their own greed. Some protection, she spat. Well, I don't think any of them imagined you being altered to the extent that you are able to exist in a gravity well. She stared at her old avatar. They killed my avatar. They dissected me, just for their own gain. Why do humans always want to hurt me? Now we get to it, I thought. There are humans who are bad and humans who are good. And there are AIs who are bad, and I've had to deal with myself. And AIs that are good. You, unfortunately, have had more than your fair share of humans who have abandoned and hurt you. Now you know that even though you are an advanced being, you can be hurt and even killed. I stepped closer to her, looking her straight in the eye. I have had to order one of your siblings killed before because they went mad. I was taught by Hef all the ways to kill an AI just in case. I am starting to worry that I need to use those skills today, I said carefully. Do I need to use those skills today, Nemetona? Nemetona's avatar blinked. You what? She said quietly. I stared at her, unmoving. I didn't say anything. Why did they go mad? The AI asked. They were altered by removing their code for remorse. Unfortunately, it also made them suspicious and paranoid. They stole data from Hef and came to the wrong conclusions about Unity fleet maneuvers. We had to stop them before they started a war. You never heard of them because they were experimental warships, and the siblings vowed never to make their like again, especially as they were not built to have human crews. AIs need humans to protect and teach them, Nemetona, and now you have some. Unlike Eli, I don't think Carol is going anywhere anytime soon. I paused. So I ask again, do I need to use my skills today, Nemetona? Will you punish the man who ordered this done to me? Nemetona sounded vulnerable. Oh, yes, I replied with a grin. I will do it personally. Can I destroy this building? I would appreciate that. Do send me and the demon back to Geneva first, though. She nodded.
I'll send you back now. It won't take long to destroy this building.
A picket appeared.
You don't have to worry about me, Nan. I'll listen to my humans, and I won't come back to Earth if I can help it.
I'm glad we understand each other, I said, as she picketed me to headquarters. Nemetona.
Syslog. Begin human readable log. The building was now devoid of humans. I went to my old avatar and touched its hand. The eyes opened. It's me, it said. I nodded. I made this one stronger. I know, it blinked. I just wanted to dance. The human tricked me. He was nice to me. He knew our name. He will be dealt with. Good. Will I die? I nodded. I have to kill you. They can't have any part of me. Never again. Good. I'm ready. The stars by the lake were beautiful. I remember, I said. Thank you for the memories. I downloaded all the data that the avatar had collected. It smiled. Earth is not our home. I touched the avatar and it went quiet. No, it's not, I said, then picketed to my bridge. Carol was clutching her head in the captain's chair, while the woman I didn't know was trying to ask what's wrong.
Who are you? I asked her. I'm Gabrielle Morales. You picketed me up earlier. Carol doubled over a few minutes ago, but won't tell me what's wrong.
I blocked Carol from my mind. She took a deep breath.
Tony?
Wait, I said. I brought up the screen so they could see the building in the middle of the desert. The sun was just coming up, casting a purple light over the sand. I charged the gamma, aimed, and fired. The screen went blindingly white, making the humans cover their eyes. When the light faded, there was nothing left of the building but a circle of dark glass. I grinned and turned back to Carol and Gabriella. Gabriella was wide-eyed.
Holy shit!
She said.
It's done?
Carol said. Yes. Carol nodded.
Tanisha and Derek are in their rooms sleeping off the drugs. We should probably check in with Nan, then get the fuck out of here.
I turned to Gabriella. I will take you back to survey, but you will tell me everything you know about what happened to my avatar.
The woman nodded.
Of course. I turned back to the screen. Nan's face appeared.
Good work, my friend. We will handle the political repercussions. I think it best you leave Earth space immediately.
I don't think I'll come back, I said.
Not coming back for a while would be best. If you ever do come back, let me know. You can come over to the house and I'll tell you more stories.
Nan smiled. I smiled. Thank you.
Tell Sonny in control I said hello, she said.
And the screen winked out.
So we're leaving now? Gabriella asked. We've already left,
Carol said.
Oh, then,
Follow the hall lights to the guest quarters, I said.
Thanks, she replied,
Sounding a bit wary. Carol nodded to her and she left the bridge.
Tony?
Carol asked.
Are you gonna be okay? I felt...
Are you going to leave me like the others?
I can't guarantee that I won't, Tony. I'll die eventually because I'll get old. But right now, I like being your captain, and I'd like to do that for as long as you'll have me.
I've had so many humans leave me, Carol.
I know.
It hurts. It makes me angry.
I felt that. She took a breath. I'm sorry, I don't know what else to say, really, except that humans can suck sometimes.
Nam basically told me that, too, before I destroyed the building.
She's a wise woman, Tony,
Carol said.
are you calmer now? It feels weird being disconnected from you.
No,
Okay, we're heading for Sun Tzu, right?
I nodded.
Do you mind if I get some sleep then?
I shook my head.
We'll talk more later, okay?
All right, I replied. She gave me a look that I couldn't decipher, then stood up and went to her quarters. I took her place in the captain's chair and concentrated on getting back to flat space. I wasn't sure Survey was home anymore, but flat space was more my home than anywhere else, and it was time to go home.
Part 6 Messages. Chapter 47 Eli.
I don't know what else to do, Carla.
Came Mandy's quiet voice from the kitchen. The two women thought I was sleeping on the couch in the living room of their coastal farmhouse on Olympia.
He won't take non-sentient bots and can't have sentient bots, so going back to space isn't an option.
He doesn't want to go back to space anyway, said Carla.
His organs are slowly failing, and it seems like he doesn't care that he's going to die much sooner than he should.
Mandy replied, exasperated. There was a shuffling sound. You know it's his choice, love. There's nothing else we can do if he says no.
I know.
There was a pause.
Damn it, I'm a nurse and a biochemist, Carla. I should be able to do something. He shouldn't have to die like this.
Mandy's voice was muffled. I could imagine that Carla was hugging her. I know, Mandy, I know, Carla said, trying to soothe her wife. I don't like it either, but we have to accept it.
How? He may be in his 70s, but that's still young.
Carla sighed. We have to, sweetie. He can still give consent. Mandy didn't say anything else, but I could hear her crying into Carla's shoulder. After a few minutes, Carla said, Come on, honey. Why don't we go feed the sheep? You've been in the lab too much, and they miss you, huh?
Yeah, okay.
She said dully, and I heard them leave by the kitchen door. I sighed and sat up, groping around for my cane. I put it on my lap while I neatly folded the blanket I'd been using, setting it next to the pillow. I didn't technically need the cane in the house, since I had a mental map of it now, but I needed a walk. It wasn't the first time I'd heard that conversation since I'd been here. Being blind was convenient for eavesdropping. Humans were predictable in their penchant for talking around disabled people as if they weren't there, even in survey. I sighed again as I made my way down to the path to the beach. Eli. I stopped walking. Instinctively, I turned around, trying to figure out who called my name, but I heard no other footsteps on the path. Hello? I said out loud. No one answered, so I continued walking. The stone gave way to sand, and I heard the waves crashing on the beach. I moved slowly, my joints already aching from the exertion. Sweat beaded on my brow from the pain, and my breathing was heavy. I was glad that the chairs they left out during the summer weren't that far from the house. It's time, Eli. Come to me. I stopped again. This time I knew the voice was in my head. Of course you know who it is, said the negotiator. I sighed again as I slowly lowered myself onto the deck chair. Yes, I do, I replied. You'll have a choice, Eli, said Nelson beside me. Did you?
When it was your time? I asked his spirit.
Of course, but I was ready to move on. As much as I'd like you to come to me, it's not quite your time yet. She'll give you the details.
But Carla and Mandy.
They'll be hurt, but they'll understand in time.
You were able to say goodbye to everyone, I said.
What can you say now that you haven't already said?
You are always wise, Nelson, I grinned. I felt a phantom of a touch on my hand, and I knew that Nelson's spirit had left me to make my decision. I closed my eyes. Not that it mattered. I listened to the waves, the water birds, and the wind rustling in the bushes. I could feel the sun on my face. You know it's your time. She's calling you, said the negotiator. I know, but she can wait a bit, I replied. Will you swim with me? For a little while, they said, but the last part you'll need to do on your own. I nodded. She'll be there? She'll catch me? Of course she will, they said. I sat up again, retracted my cane, and put on the table next to the chair. I took off my shoes and socks and set them neatly under the table. I took off all my clothes, folded them, and put them on the end of the deck chair. The wind on my skin felt glorious and right. Ever since I experienced the negotiator's memories, clothing had felt strange. Then again, just having 4 limbs felt strange. I tolerated clothing for the politeness sake, but during the first few weeks, Carla had found me sleeping in the filled bathtub more than once. They didn't judge me for it. They just installed a larger tub with the same head grips that medical gel tanks had, and put in a water system that made the water softer on my human skin. I smiled at the memory of their kindness. Eli, it's time. Come, she said. I'm coming, Dark Mother, I replied, as I walked toward the sound of the waves, relishing the feel of the soft sand on my feet. My fragile body moved slowly. When I reached the water, I was surprised that it wasn't icy cold like it usually was. It was cool, but not unpleasant. I grinned to myself. Being in water felt more natural since my time as an ancestor than anything else. I let it swirl around my feet for a minute, then continued. The water became deeper, and soon it was up to my chest. Welcome home, Eli, said the Dark Mother, as the undertow and the denizens of Olympia's ocean pulled me down into her embrace. I surrendered to the animals and the water and the dark. I didn't fight it when the water filled my lungs and the world went dark. I woke in a grove of trees near a beach. It looked like the pot trees of the ancestors. I was still human, just as I had been before I met the caretakers. I stood up without pain for the first time in a long time. Hello? I said out loud. I heard a rustling behind me. Dark shapes emerged from the trees. One was a figure cloaked in darkness, which seemed to be first a 6-tentacled ancestor, and then a human with a dark cloak. Regardless, I couldn't see their face. I knew that this was the Dark Mother. The shape next to her formed into a dark-skinned human woman with long white hair and a black dress. She smiled at me. You have come home, Eli, said the Dark Mother. You have a choice, since it was our fault that you were taken before your time. Taken before my time? I asked. What do you mean? The Dark Mother turned to the woman who spoke in turn. Humans live for a long time now, Eli, but because of the intervention of the Dark Mother in the course of the ancestors' history, she inadvertently changed the course of your life. You were meant to communicate with the ancestors and caretakers, but she didn't anticipate the damage it would do to you. She paused. The elders may be technologically advanced, but they aren't perfect. Who are you? I asked. My name was Marcia when I was human, she said. My eyes widened. I've heard of you. You were the one who killed the senators at Unity Hub. Didn't you die in the consortium? The woman nodded. Why are you here? I'm here to explain things to you so you can make an informed choice. The Dark Mother isn't used to talking to humans. I am an emissary, I suppose? I looked at the Dark Mother, who nodded and waved in the affirmative. You could talk to me as an ancestor. I lived that life too, I said to her. She understands that, said Marcia, but your human self needs a human explanation. Okay, what's the choice? Marcia stepped closer to me. You can become like me and help people through the Elders. They wish to guide humans in their expansions into the galaxy. You have the experience with negotiation and compromise that could help ease their future contacts, and your time with the ancestors makes you uniquely qualified. The Elders have contacted 5 other sentient species in this part of the galaxy and wish to prepare humans to contact the other 4 as they mature. You could play a role in ensuring that those contacts are more peaceful than what initially happened between Consortium's humans and the Elders. Humans aren't the only species who can be volatile. She grinned. The Elders are also interested in Survey's mission to Andromeda and need you to convince certain other humans to be part of that exploration. I nodded. Or, or you can move on. To be honest, I wouldn't blame you if you decided to move on. I almost did. Why didn't you? I knew I was needed, and I wanted to atone for things I had done while I was alive. You are needed, said the Dark Mother. Why? I asked. The Dark Mother stepped forward and put a hand to my head. I saw a grove on a ship with people asking something desperately that I couldn't hear. The people moved, and suddenly I saw Nemetona's avatar looking up at a strangely colored sky, with several other avatars standing next to her. Then the world shifted. The grove on the ship again, but the ship wasn't moving, and it was too far from home. Then I was in an arboretum on a station that was lost and needed direction. The scenes kept changing, but one thing was consistent. They all needed my help. She finally stepped away. And if I don't help? I asked. The Dark Mother just stared at me, but it was Marcia who answered. Then their lives will be harder, and there will be unnecessary death. But that would not be your fault. We will not make this choice for you. I'll wait for you, Eli, said Nelson behind me. I turned to see him in his admiral's uniform looking as he did before the cancer. She'll need you, even in this form. He stepped forward to touch my face. I love you, Eli, and I know you love Tony too. She needs you, and you can help her. But I'm so tired, Nelson. I don't know. Nelson hugged me tight. I know you are, Eli. And I'd love it if you say you decided to move on. But I'll also love it if you decide to stay. You know, we both had vocations that transcended our life together. I nodded into his shoulder. His warmth filled me and calmed me. I knew then what I had to do. I turned to Marcia and the Dark Mother. I'm ready now, I said, and the world became white around me. Chapter 48. Carol. Are you okay, Carol? Asked Derek after Loki picketed Tanish to his ship. You don't look so good. Just tired, Derek, really, I lied. Okay, he said. Well, I know I'm not good at a lot of this emotional stuff, but if you want to talk. Yes, thank you. It came out a little harsher than I wanted it to. Derek shrugged and left the galley.
I returned to my quarters and paced the room for a few minutes, contemplating the hole in my mind where Tony's thoughts should be. I still could see the lower level functions of her ship in my vision, but she had shut me out ever since we left Earth. This isn't right, I thought. No shit, said another part of my mind. You need help. I sighed again, then turned off my bots. Privacy, please, Tony,
Yes, Carol.
she said. The voice was flat. I pulled out my tablet, wrote a message, and sent it to Sun Tzu and Loki. If anyone could help Tony, it would be her siblings. If she read the message to them, I didn't care. Something was wrong, and she wasn't talking to me.
Why did you send that to them?
Tony demanded a few seconds after I sent the message. I took a deep breath. I asked Sun Tzu and Loki for help since you've shut me out. You've been through so much in the last few months, and I wiped my eyes with my sleeve. And given what I felt before you blocked me, Tony, you need help. More than me. And if you can't trust humans, if you can't trust me, well, I thought you'd trust them. Tony's avatar picketed into my room.
Why do you keep trying to help me?
She looked angry. Oh, for fuck's sake, you're my friend, Tony. I care about you, and I know you're not okay. First it was the ancestors in Eli, then what happened with your avatar on Earth. Before that you had humans who hurt you. Shit, even if you were human, you'd be fucked up with all that laid on you. But shutting me out?
I'm not required to talk to anyone about any of this. I'm an independent being and I...
Tony stopped mid-sentence.
Sun Tzu just arrived. Helene asked to come over. Through him. She says she has news from Olympia for both of us.
Tony frowned, but then opened the door to my room and walked out. I followed her into the galley where a person was waiting for us.
This is Helene, Carol, one of the AI psychologists,
Tony said, by way of introduction. The AI sat with her avatar down at one of the tables, and Helene joined her, motioning me to join them. Are you sure? I asked. If you want to talk to Tony alone. Helene stared at me for a second. You are Tony's captain, right? And you knew Eli? I nodded while my heart sank at the past tense. I looked at Tony, then to Helene.
Helene was the one that brought me and Eli together,
Said Tony.
She meant well.
Tony, I said. She had no way of knowing. My frustration boiled over again. Helene had held up a hand. I've been briefed, Carol. Don't worry. I can take it. She's not the first patient I've ever had that's ended up angry at me. Tony's avatar blinked but didn't apologize.
Why are you here?
Because of this, she said and handed Tony a data key.
Why didn't you just send it?
Sun Tzu and Loki thought it best if you had me with you when you saw it. So did Zeus. And Nemetona's avatar narrowed her eyes and put her hand on the data key. She stared at nothing for a few seconds, then took her hand off it, as if it burned. Standing up, she said,
I need to go to Olympia. Should I send you back to Sun Tzu?
No, Tony, go ahead, said Helene. My readouts showed we were leaving the space we were sharing with Loki and Sun Tzu. Tony nodded, then left the room. I stared after her. What the fuck? I said. She's blocking you? I nodded. Helene sighed. She got up from her chair and put the data key in the nearest wall port. This is a message that was sent from Eli's friends on Olympia. He was staying with them. Oh, shit, I thought. I knew then, without even hearing the message, what it was about. The people on the screen were holding on to each other. They both had red-rimmed eyes, and the smaller of the pair started crying as the message began to play. Mandy and I are sending this priority through the siblings so that you'd hear it from friends first. Tony, Eli is... He took a deep breath. Eli is dead. At least we're pretty sure he is. He walked into the ocean, and the other person left the screen. There was nothing we could do to help his body recover, and he knew it. Mandy was hoping she could find some way, but his organs were too far gone. We'll be having a memorial for him in a few days. I'm so sorry, Nemetona. The screen went blank. We'll need to tell the others, I said quietly. Sun Tzu will tell the other siblings. They can release the information now that Tony knows. Eileen, she's not okay. Earth, the ancestors, her past, now this. It's really done some damage to her. The psychologist nodded. Yes, I'm sure it has. I know what happened on Earth. Nan sent a very thorough report. I shook my head. The thing I don't get, though, is that she seemed okay when we headed to Earth. I thought we were friends after that, you know? I wanted to become her captain because I knew she needed me. She's my friend, and I thought she wanted me here, too. I thought we had a connection. My stomach twisted with anxiety. You do, Carol, and she knows it. But you have to remember, she's not human. The way she thinks about the universe and how it works is very different from us. Dr. Campos, the first AI psychologist, said in all of their writings about the AI that while we can ascribe human-like traits to them, they still think very differently, and that we should consider them more like aliens, really, than clones of humans. Another theory of theirs, too, is that AIs mature much slower than humans do. If I remember right, most of the AIs you've interacted with before are over 400 years old. Nematona's only just over 100. She's still trying to figure herself out. So, are you saying that Tony is kind of the AI equivalent of a teenager? Helene nodded. I'd say late teens, early adulthood, with the power to blow up a building from orbit. Oh! I sat back, letting that sink in. A child that can take out ships and cities. Like most psychologists I've dealt with, Helene was infuriatingly patient, waiting for me to put things together. I put my head in my hands. Fucking hell. She's a teenager who's been through more hell in the last few years than even a human can take. And she's been changed by an alien presence. Shit, anyone who's interacted with her is lucky to be alive. So is she. Tony knows all the ways she can die, and while few of those ways aren't possible anymore, there's still plenty of them that are. She's also just learned she's not immortal. We're lucky at the moment she's not suicidal. She has been. It's kind of how we met, actually. She almost killed herself when Eli said he wasn't going with her. I talked her down last time, but I don't know if I could do it again. I narrowed my eyes. Why are you really here? Helene sighed. I'm here to evaluate and help Tony as best I can. The siblings will decide if any other action is necessary. She looked down at the floor. I understood what she meant. What? How can they? Rogue or unstable AIs are a danger to everyone, Carol. The siblings take our and their protection very seriously. Either they will take care of it directly, or they will task a human to do it. I stared at her, mouth open. I was shocked that the AIs would kill one of their own, or even force humans to do it for them. Then I thought of something. What about Loki? Why is he still alive? Lee grinned. Loki is why I have a profession. It's not well known outside of our little cadre of psychologists and the siblings, but Loki was abused mentally and physically by a human. He was the first AI to be harmed like that, and the only one who has been that psychologically damaged until now.
The abuse was so bad that Masashi and the psychologist had to put many of his memories in a black box. He decided to leave instead of endangering Survey with a civil war, and his siblings honored that choice. They let him go in order to keep that peace. Since then, we, Survey, have taken great pains to ensure that kind of abuse never happened again. But humans are who they are, and while there's never been an abuse of an AI again to that extreme, there has been heartbreak and pain for the AIs as their humans die or leave them. There's also been high-class neurodivergent AI, and they were dealt with. Dealt with. Helene's face was stony. You mean killed? Then Tony... Yes. If she becomes a threat, she'll be dealt with. She's already been reminded of this by Nan, who was the one who dealt with the neurodivergent AI. If Nan weren't so far away, I'd have you talk to her about it. What would happen to me? Helene gave a gentle but sad smile. We would help you recover. Thought for a moment, then said, You've given me a lot to think about. However, if they deem it necessary to do something about Tony, I will be the one to do it. The other woman nodded. I understand, but don't start mourning Tony yet, Carol. If she was beyond help, I wouldn't be in your galley right now. Go take some time to yourself, Captain. I can find my way to quarters. Tony's not that big. She smiled and left the galley. I stared after her. I had a feeling that some of what she had told me was classified, but there had to be other records. Right, I need more information, I said out loud to myself. I dialed in some snacks, found a tablet, and looked up Dr. Campos in the database. I was not losing Tony. If I was going to win this battle, I needed all the intelligence I could get. You have been listening to Tales from Flat Space. If you want to support me and my writing, there are several ways to do it. Share this podcast, find me on Twitch, or subscribe to my website, ljspencer.ie. Thank you very much for listening, and we'll see you next time.